the archive of Session 3 of Help in the High Forest. Why the 2.8 of you who follow this campaign might ask? Because I, Bonnie Bew, pooched the screw. I didn't do a sound check before we started recording in the last session, so all I have is a video with no explanation of what is actually happening. It's super riveting. It's really great. Just like watching paint dry. But Bonnie, you may ask, all 2.8 of you, did you not stream this game on Twitch? Why did no one tell you there was no sound? Well, I will explain. Not only did I forget to do a sound check in OBS before the game, I left the AFK screen up on the stream for the first half of the game. So anybody who came by the stream would have thought we hadn't started forever. The reason I record my D&D sessions in the first place is so I can take notes from that afterwards. I am so slow at writing down things. I feel like the game goes on pause when I'm scribbling deets in my notebook. And when you're playing online, I find I need to warn the players that I'm writing or typing something down when I do it in game because the lingering silence freaks them out that I've like disconnected or they've disconnected or everybody's disconnected. Online TTRPG players who aren't using cameras, we're like in a constant state of paranoia that something has gone horribly wrong with our technology. And to be fair, if things like Discord or OBS weren't so fiddly faddly and prone to blanking out your audio source once a month, so your session recording actually doesn't have sound when you forget to do a sound check, maybe there wouldn't be panic at every 5-second pause in a D&D game online. Likewise, I'm not one of those DMs who just remembers exactly what happens and can make notes of the pertinent highlights after the fact. I mean, if you've watched or played in any of my games, you know my memory has failures all the time, whether I just have like this mental block of like a particular word or like my brain's RAM hasn't had the 30 seconds or whatever it needs to retrieve that piece of information from the winding halls of the trivia spaghetti that is archived in my noggin. So, I mean, in the best of situations, I'm a mess. But okay, enough of me going on about technical failures. What the hell happened in session 3? Well, as best as I can remember, there wasn't much housekeeping before we started playing, which was actually inconvenient because Rach was having computer problems. She and Grim had just gotten back from holiday, and Windows Update was having its wicked way processing things interminably upon startup of her computer. So instead of using the usual catchphrase, which is like, if we're all physically, if not emotionally prepared, which is like the cue for us to start really like actually playing in earnest, or at least doing the recap of the previous session. That time started out laughing about we were neither physically nor emotionally prepared for the game. I mean, at the time I didn't know how true that was, but it was like so very true. But I remember that was exceptional. That was exceptional. I actually remember that part. But there wasn't any problem with Rach not being able to get in the game right away because we'd left on a cliffhanger. We were still in Honeyfest. Oh God, still in Honeyfest. Yelena had snuck out of the VIP tent to tail Lady Bellafauna Than's midnight meetup with Shaun the Hermit at Shaun's rest hut. The party was effectively split because Terel was sleeping through everything, and Kai, though awake, hadn't decided to get out of his cozy bed yet. Yelena had fumbled sneaking at the end of session 2. She'd rolled a natural 1 once she got to the rest hut tent. And with the people inside the rest hut alerted with noise that there might be somebody else around, I had Yelena, Shaun, and Bellafauna all roll initiative to see who got to react to the sound or the possibility of company, and what order. Yelena, luckily, though, came in first in the order, so she successfully dashed around the side of the rest hut before anybody looked out the front and caught her. Yelena then proceeded to listen as Shaun and Bellafauna continued to have their encounter. It turns out Bellafauna was trying to sell a pair of wyvern eggs to the wizard to raise money for rebuilding Parnast. But Shaun the Hermit shortchanges her by 90%, making her a bit upset. Shaun the Hermit says something at some point before things escalate that he's on a righteous quest, and if he survives, he'll repay her one day, and then he proceeds to peace out by dropping the illusion of his rest hut tent. At this point, Elena's cover is blown. They're just like in this clearing with like some leftover actual physical pillows lying around on the ground. Shaun decides he's going to steal any wyvern poison or any wyvern related products Belafana might still have on her to go with the eggs that he's taking, since, these are powerful alchemical reagents. So Shaun proceeds to cast Control Winds to basically manage the people in front of him, intending for the downdraft of the spell to subdue everyone. But it only worked on Yelena. Yelena continues to regret getting out of bed for this. Now, over the course of this encounter, Belafana proved stupidly competent given that she's like a level 1 druid. It's like I was only rolling 19s and 20s for this NPC. Going into this, I was a little worried that I might get Belafana killed and I just have to scrap the NPC and figure out something else to do with this whole Parnast journey. So I had like a backup plan for going to Parnast, which did get deployed. Um but no, she saves against the high level wizard spell twice, and then she whomps him with like a sling bullet during combat at disadvantage. Like this is David versus Goliath. I mean, that wasn't meant to happen. Given that Belafano is rolling really well, Shaun abandons the plan to rummage her pockets for poison. He hasn't gotten her like prone on the ground. Shaun gives up, starts to fly away, making his escape. Since he doesn't want any more bullets in his face, he throws an air elemental gem down at Yelena and Belafana to occupy them. And he drops the wind spell so he can focus on leaving. Because the wind is gone, Yelena starts to get some of her own back. First, she gets to stand up. Second, she has a bow of far distance, so the Aarakocra wizard is nowhere near out of range, even if he's dash flying away. That sucker, I think it went up to like 1,200 feet or something. I mean, like more than we would ever represent on a map. So she was going to be able to get some like frustrated, why am I not sleeping revenge. By this point, Terel has been awoken by the wind, and Kai is ready for action. But there's a problem. They can only see themselves on the battle map in Fantasy Grounds. It takes me way too long to figure out that that's because I'd added line of sight to this map. They couldn't see anything because they were inside the VIP tent. I mean, yeah, this is realistic tent physics, I grant you, but in the moment, frustrating for the players and disruptive to the action. So, yay, line of sight technology. The party does a lot of damage as Shaun the Hermit is trying to fly away. Yelena gets a natural 20 off, and she makes him drop one of the stolen wyvern eggs. It's revealed at this point that Lady Bellavana has an actual wyvern traveling with her in secret. I think I mentioned that the wyvern's name, it's like a pet, and its name is Euphoria. Maybe I didn't mention that, and if I didn't mention it, well, you'll never catch me now because, I don't have any proof. But that's what it is. And the wyvern, dashes on the scene, catches the egg before it falls and crashes to the ground, probably being destroyed. The party learns that the dragon cult that controlled Parnast before Lady Belafana arrived had domesticated a set of wyverns, and the cultists used these creatures to fly between Parnast and the flying castle that was one of their strongholds. And after the cult was defeated, the domesticated wyverns stayed in the area. It's what they'd been taught. The party also learned that Lady Belafana's mother had been a soldier with the Waterdeep Cavalry, which is renowned for flying on griffins. This is why instead of wanting to hire adventurers to get rid of the domesticated wyverns in Parnast when she found them, Belafana thought trying to fly on one of them was a really great idea instead of certain death. But, back back to the action again. Yelena takes some damage from the air elemental that Shaun had summoned, but Terel practically drops it in a single blow between a critical hit and a resounding smite. Shaun the Hermit eventually goes invisible to make his escape, and the party kind of tables this as someone they'll maybe have to reckon with down the line. Maybe, probably, maybe, kinda. I don't know. Fast forward, everybody gets a long rest, and then it's breakfast the next morning. A red squirrel pops into the VIP tent with a letter for Yelena from the Emerald Enclave. Blossom Snobeedle, the winter warden in Undercliff who dispatched Yelena and Terel to Rouge Fair in the first place, wants them to pick up a statue of Angarad. Angarad. Kim knows how to say this. Anyway, Angarad, that's what I'm going with. The elven goddess associated with spring. And they're supposed to pick up the statue from the Elkhorn Emporium in Succumber and deliver it to Chandra's store at the Shrine of Axes in Parnast. The party checks in with Belafana that the caravan to Parnast will be stopping by Succumber. It is. Hearing Belafana muse about selling the remaining wyvern egg for her Build Back Better fund, her options are Acquisitions Incorporated, which dismisses as their offer was lowball, and whoever is responsible is pretty cheap. And a wizard in Succumber, known for being eccentric, the party kind of wants to intervene any more of these storylines and decides to send a note back with a squirrel to inquire if the Emerald Enclave would be interested in buying a wyvern egg. They check with B. Belafana seems very happy with this idea as long as her name can be kept out of the transaction. So letter goes back with the squirrel. And I think the squirrel's name was Tony. So if that matters, maybe Tony will show up again. I should note Blossom Snobeedle's stationery was decorated with the image of a squirrel chasing snowflakes, which Terrell says might be her next tattoo. I think this was a joke. I don't know. That might have been Grim saying it. And I'm pretty sure she was joking. But still, I do remember that. De facto town leader of Rouge Fair, Arbiter Drusel, he drops by and he mentions that not only did Shaun the Hermit skip out before the last day of Honeyfest, the Sweet Tent, which Kai knows had drugs and a gambling den in the back, and the Fungeon, which the party hadn't visited, and the pet stall where Yelena had gotten a pet rock, all of those left town overnight as well. Finally, it was time for the party to judge the beautiful baby contest. So we took a little adventurous break at that point. Suddenly, hey, we have images of the game now because I taken off the AFK screen. And as part of the Beautiful Baby contest, everybody did 5 animal handling checks for the babies that they, well, handled because babies are mammals, animals. Yeah. If that didn't go well, there was usually some kind of saving throw situation to avoid the most insidious infant attacks. Terrell did not have a great experience. Terrell was kicked and punched and puked on and narrowly avoided getting poop on her armor. Really, Terrell's toughest adversary so far in the campaign is babies. Terrell also startled Terry's piglet little Porky, who would have likely won the contest had he not run away and been disqualified. God, poor little Porky. Poor Terry. We also had Boy Baby, Human Baby in a creepy pageant wig and makeup, Cranky Halfling Baby, Human Baby who looks like Wallace Shawn, Half Elf Baby who smells like Yelena, Dwarf Baby, Baby polymorphed into a baby giraffe at the Make Your Own Potion booth, Bedhead Human Baby in a crochet elephant cosplay who peed on Lord Jomont Shieldbar, a Human Baby who likes to click her tongue, so cute, that's my favorite, Chill Halfling Baby, Dwarf Twins who snotted on Kai, Baby Goblin, who bit Lady Belafana, and Gnome Baby, who had an exploding turnip, but everybody rolled really well and survived unscathed. I should also note that Dwarf Baby had a pet rock, which Yelena noticed had a symbol on it that was missing from her own pet rock. Yelena used sleight of hand to do a bait and switch to trade pet rocks. Dwarf Baby was cool with it. The party awarded the beautiful baby crown to Miss Taffy Jansen, the gnome baby who didn't explode them. And the runner up sash went to Pram Broombent, the halfling baby with a resting cry face. Huzzah! Yay, baby contest! I am sure this is everything Gary Gygax dreamed D&D could be. Oh, well, into baby contest. That was pretty much the end of the session. Gosh. Oh, there was a thing where Lady Belafana mentioned that she'd sold a lot of her fancy gowns to raise funds to rebuild Parnast, build back better. And she tried to sell some of her jewelry, and that the vendor of the jewelry store hadn't been interested earlier during the festival. But then at the end of the baby contest, this vendor approaches Belafana to say that he would like to purchase some of her jewelry after all. And as everyone was leaving the contest pavilion, someone in the party, I can't remember who, but I want to say it was Yelena or Kai because Terel didn't roll so well most of the session. Uh, Somebody noticed some meaningful looks between the jewelry vendor and Lord Jomont, and the party immediately became super suspicious. Like, I don't think anyone framed the nature of their suspicions, so maybe that's next session because I'm not quite sure what's going on in their heads, like what they think the situation really is. Um, and I'm not saying that there wasn't something going on. This isn't like this isn't like the raffle situation where they kind of did go in a direction I wasn't totally expecting. But it was cool. This is more like I don't know what's going on in their minds. I don't know what you're thinking, players. I hope one day I find out. Session 4, I swear to God, will have sound. I swear by Baby Bowie, it will have sound. And we are absolutely going to finish Honey fast. And maybe hit the road to Parnast? First stop Succumber? I hope so. We're going to just breeze by Uluvin. Well, we don't have time for Uluvin at this point. Like, screw Uluvin. It's dead to me. Next session, we will definitely start out with wrapping up Honeyfast, which basically will include the tug of war final. We'll see if Terel is tug of war champion. And then we will also need to see who wins the winged boots at the raffle drawing. And then Honeyfest will be done and dusted, and we can the party can start moving on to anything that they want to do in Rouge Fair before the caravan to Parnast hits the road. So if you made it this far, thank you for listening to this really crappy summary of what happened in session 3 of Help in the High Forest. And I hope next time you will join us when we play, which is July 16th. 1 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. Please join us on twitch.tv/BonnieView and be there and tell us, all 2.8 of you, that my sound isn't working, if my sound isn't working, or if I leave up the AFK screen, if that's all you see for like more than 5 minutes. Please do sound an alarm. I can't be trusted with these tools and technology, or to remember, what cotton candy is. Bye.